Lesson 6 درس 6 Communication تواصل كلام خفيف small talk literally light talk plays an important role during interactions with Arabic speakers. Sometimes you need to engage in كلام خفيف when you meet people for the first time. You may know their ism, but you want to find out more about them, such as where they're from and what they do. كلام خفيف allows you to find out more about the person you are interacting with, as well as lets you tell a little bit about yourself. كلام خفيف may also take place between people who know each other but prefer to make small talk in order to avoid awkward silence. Whatever the case, the ability to engage in كلام خفيف is important. You need to be aware of a number of rules when you make small talk in Arabic. Some cultural, social, and personal topics are off limits, and you may offend someone unnecessarily if you don't know what topics to avoid. I review how to talk about your أسرة, family, your مهنة, job, and your هوايات, hobbies. I also share how to chat about الطقس, the weather. Finally, you discover keywords that will allow you to engage in the كلام خفيف like a native speaker. This part explains how to make كلام خفيف in Arabic, including how to ask simple questions to find out more about the person or people you are talking to.
Look and listen. انظر واستمع. Saying it's a pleasure to meet you. When someone introduces himself or herself, a polite response is تشرفنا. It's a pleasure to meet you. تشرفنا is a formal response. Whereas أهلا وسهلا, nice to meet you, is much more informal. شرفة is the Arabic term for honor, which means that تشرفنا literally translates to we are honored. In English, it's the equivalent of it's a pleasure to meet you. أهلا وسهلا is a phrase with a dear roll. When used at the beginning of a dialogue, it means hi. When used right after an introduction, you are informally saying nice to meet you. I'm doing well. When someone asks you how are you doing, if you are doing just fine, the typical response is Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah literally means praise to God, but in this context it translates to I am doing well.
You will notice that the reference to Allah is widespread. Modern Arabic evolved from the Quran, and many everyday phrases still contain religious references. That's why a phrase as I'm doing well takes on religious overtones.
A greeting wouldn't be complete if both sides didn't address each other. So after you say Alhamdulillah, Shukran, you need to ask the other person how he or she is doing. If you are speaking with a man, you say وأنت كيف الحال, and you, how are you? If you are speaking with a woman, you say وأنت كيف الحال. And you, how are you?
The basic rule for expressing that you need help is that if you are involved in a life and death situation, you should scream out Najda. Think of Najda as the quadrant of distress signs only to be used if your life or the life of others in a danger. Here are some other important words and phrases to help you cope with an emergency. ساعدني عاوني شرطة أريد طبيب لص نار. A little help with the verb to help. The word مساعدة is derived from the verb ساعد, which means to help. Although screaming مساعدة is an important first step to attract attention to an emergency, you also need to be able to consistently formulate a sentence in order to get the right kind of help. Use the form ساعد to conjugate the verb to help in the ماضي and يساعد to conjugate it in the مضارع. Here is the verb ساعد conjugated in the ماضي form. أنا ساعدت. أنت ساعدت. أنت ساعدت. هو ساعد. هي ساعدت. نحن ساعدنا. أنتم ساعدتم. أنتن ساعدتن. هم ساعدوا. هن ساعدنا. أنتما ساعدتما. هما ساعدا. هما ساعدتا. Telling time in Arabic. Telling وقت in Arabic is an entirely different proposition than telling time in English. In fact, you have to accept a fundamental difference right off the bat. Arabic doesn't use an AM PM convention to denote the time of day, nor does it use the 24-hour military clock. So, how do you know which part of the day it is if you can't use the 24-hour system or the AM PM convention? It's actually very simple. You specify the time of day. So you say, for example, it's 10 in the morning or it's 10 at night. Easy enough, don't you think? If you want to ask someone for the time, you ask the following question: كم الساعة? If someone asks you this question, the appropriate response is الساعة followed by the ordinal of the hour. So you would say, for instance, it's the second hour, as opposite to saying it's 2 o'clock. Because الساعة is a feminine noun, you use the feminine form of the ordinal numbers, which are listed in the following table: واحدة، ثانية، ثالثة، رابعة، خامسة، سادسة، سابعة، ثامنة، تاسعة، عاشرة، حادية عشرة، ثانية عشرة. You need to use the definite prefix article L with the ordinals because you are referring to a specific hour and not just any hour. The following are some additional keywords related to telling time in Arabic: ساعة، دقيقة، ثانية، بعد، قبل، اليوم، الغد، البارحة، بعد الغد قبل البارحة.
Look and listen. انظر واستمع.